Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast. My name is Jesse, and we are going to be getting into another disappointing episode of the Warehouse Podcast. This time, the Orioles have dropped two out of three against the Cincinnati Reds, and in very disappointing fashion as well, as I will get into. Now, coming into the series, there's a lot that was sort of exciting about the series, right? The Reds are a very fascinating and interesting team. Terry Francona is now their manager. So obviously, despite my reluctance to admit this due to his time at the Red Sox, Terry Francona has established himself as one of the better managers in Major League Baseball. So it is likely that this Reds team is going to turn around within the next few years, if not having a decent season this year. They also have a lot of young stars, or a young star in particular, but they have a lot of young talent that also uh, portends for a more positive future than Cincinnati has had in the last few years. And the other, of course, as I just sort of referenced there, the other really interesting and exciting dynamic to this matchup is the shortstops for each of the teams. Very similar in a lot of ways, Gunnar Henderson and Ellie De La Cruz, both really, really young players. They are steadily, or they really have already established themselves as stars within Major League Baseball. They do have slightly different skill sets. There is a lot of overlap in their skill sets, but there are some distinctions sort of in their play and in their performances. But overall, both really, really star shortstops for each of the teams that are both up and coming and have already, demonstrated their capabilities in Major League Baseball. They're really not at the point of adjusting anymore. They really, now, of course, not to say they're not making adjustments, but they're not, neither of them are at the Jackson Holiday stage of their career. Both of them are full-time, consistent, everyday Major League Baseball players at this point. So that dynamic coming into it creates a really exciting matchup. Of course, the Orioles being in the American League and the Reds being in the NL Central don't get to match up against each other very often. But with that said, it still is, yeah, a really exciting uh, matchup. And I think that probably my guess is that a lot of Oriole fans were looking forward to it. The attendance was pretty good, especially on Friday and Saturday over the weekend. So I think that is also reflective that there probably was some excitement among the Oriole fan base for that series. Now, the excitement sort of went away pretty immediately. In the first game, the Orioles did drop the game 8-3. Another, as we've become accustomed to, another poor starting pitching performance. This time from Cade Povich, who went three and a third and gave up 7 runs. Excruciatingly, he gave up 6 hits and 5 walks. Now, 6 hits and 0 walks, or 5 walks and 0 hits, each in three and a third, would alone be really bad by themselves. But combined, it turns into something disastrous. And it was a pretty disastrous start for him overall in that game. Now, given some recent changes to the Orioles roster, Scott Blewett was the guy to immediately relieve Cade Povich in the fourth inning. He came in, he did okay. He pitched two and a third. He didn't give up any runs. He did give up 4 hits and a walk, which isn't ideal, but he did effectively limit the damage. He gave up 1 run, but it came due to an error. And then Matt Bowman came in, he pitched an inning, and CNL Perez then came in and pitched 2 innings. So offensively, the Orioles, as evidenced by the 3 runs, didn't do a whole lot. Cedric Mullins, of course, sort of continued his positive offensive performance so far for the Orioles this year. He did hit a solo home run, and then later in the game, Heston Kjerstad hit a 2-run home run, which turned out to be the 3 runs the entirety of the game that the Orioles scored. So the Orioles did lose by a final score of 8-3 in game 1. Going on to game 2, it sort of had a similar sort of look, but a different outcome for the Orioles. So the Orioles were able to win this game 9-5. Uh, Sir Anthony Dominguez ended up getting the win. Once again, we had uh, due to, as I referenced earlier, sort of the different composition of the major league roster. The Orioles did have Brandon Young come up for a spot start. And given the circumstances, I mean, if you look at the runs and the innings, given the circumstances, given sort of what expectations were, he didn't do disastrously. 4 innings, and he gave up 3 earned runs, 3 runs total. But looking a little deeper, 7 hits and 3 walks, which is over a 2 WHIP. So obviously, that is not sustainable for long-term success in the majors. But fortunately, the Orioles did have an offensive outburst, which came at the expense of Hunter Green, who has been among the best pitchers in Major League Baseball this year. So sort of strange how baseball works, of course. Obviously, Hunter Green did look off for a lot of the game, but the Orioles did score 5 runs off of him, which is sort of a dream start against Hunter Green. He hasn't done anything at all comparable. And the Orioles hit 3 home runs off of him. Once again, Mullins hit one, Gunnar Henderson hit one, and then Ramon Laureano hit one as well. So Laureano later in the game did hit a second home run. The O's had a good number of guys that hit home runs. Jordan Westberg also tacked on another home run later in the game as well. And just all around, the Orioles, I mean, they had 11 hits. So scoring 9 runs on 11 hits is obviously pretty good. They did have 7 walks, which they were also benefited by. But yeah, overall, I mean, the offensive performance was there today. They overcame sort of the poor pitching. Uh, I should sort of adjust that and say the poor starting pitching, because the bullpen once again for the O's did do a pretty solid job. After Brandon Young, the rest of the bullpen, other than Keegan Aiken and Matt Bowman, didn't give up a run the entirety of the game. So that's how they ended up getting their 5, 3 from Young and 1 from each of those two. So, given that the bullpen was covering 5 innings, that's a pretty good outing. And then Sir Anthony Dominguez, Yenier Cano, and Gregory Soto, uh, and Felix Bautista at the end of the game got the save. But all those guys had scoreless outings, which is really good to see. And it really is the thing that is sort of holding this team together for the moment. The starting pitching has been so bad, and it has been not bailed out by, but helped and assisted by the sort of early strength of this bullpen. Um, so the Orioles, due to their bullpen, were able to get this win. And yeah, and the 9 runs scored. Of course, that always helps. That said, the 9 runs would not have helped in the final game, which was sort of the peak of the Orioles' misery, I would say, to start this year. The Orioles dropped the final game, and you are going to hear me correctly when I say this, but they dropped the final game 24-2. And of course, I mean, to be fair, I feel a little harsh now describing the previous performance as disastrous. When really, if this is what is being classified as disastrous, the other performances that I referenced earlier, it can't be argued were disastrous. I think I'm forgetting exactly, but I think I was talking about Cade Povich's start when I referenced that. But yeah, 24-2. It was a really miserable game. It sort of started out in classic fashion that we've sort of come to expect. Charlie Morton, he pitched 2 1/3 inning. He gave up 7 earned runs. He did not make it out of the third. Um, and yeah, 7 hits and 4 walks in that game. He is now 0-5 on the season with a 10.89 ERA. In He has 20 innings pitched in 5 games started. He's averaging roughly 4 innings per outing. So yeah, um, I'll get into a little bit about Charlie Morton in a second here. We might do a deep dive on this show about Charlie Morton in the near future, given that it is becoming increasingly relevant and important to do. But Charlie Morton did pitch 2 1/3. As I said, his score line, he only had 2 strikeouts, which in 2 1/3 innings looks pretty good. But when you consider all the batters that he faced, giving up the 7 earned runs over the course of those 2 1/3 innings, that 2 strikeout number looks a little bit different. Um, After Charlie Morton pitched, Cody Poteet came in to make his first appearance for the Orioles this year. He did not really do much to stop the damage. He pitched 2 2/3 innings. He also gave up 5 runs. CNL Perez came in. He pitched 2 innings himself. He did just previously pitch 2 innings on, I think, the Friday game. So he came in, he pitched another 2 innings. He also did not pitch well. Of course, by that point, uh, to what extent are these guys able to focus, able to try to like put their best foot forward when already the other team has scored 12 runs and the game is likely out of reach? So I think in that environment, it's sort of like with closers, how they come into a non-save situation. A lot of times they struggle. There's a focus element. I think that focus element sort of applies here. So CNL Perez went 2 innings and gave up 3 earned runs. And then, of course, because the game was so out of reach at that point, the Orioles had to try to do what they could to preserve the bullpen. Jorge Mateo, not a common pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, did come in to pitch the 8th inning. He gave up 5 runs as well, all earned. And then Gary Sanchez came to pitch the last inning, pitched a full inning, but gave up a grand slam and 4 runs total. So, yeah, of course, it goes without saying that the Reds had a field day offensively. Austin Hayes had another really good game. This game, he went 4 for 6. That was another interesting component of this matchup between the Orioles and the Reds, was that he was returning to Baltimore for the first time. I believe the first time since he'd been traded away to the Phillies last year. Um, so Austin Hayes had really a monstrous series against the Orioles in total. But in this game, he went 4 for 6, scored 4 runs, had an RBI, and he is really off to a tremendous start with the Reds so far this year. He's hitting 429 with a 1253 OPS. So he's hitting the cover off the ball. Not to say that I have any regrets about the Orioles trading him how we did, due to the fact that if we know anything about Austin Hayes, we have seen him have good starts in the past. Um, so I'm not overly encouraged by or regretful by his early offensive dominance. But with that said, it is for him, of course, it's nice that he's doing so well. He has been hitting four for the Reds. Yeah, he's has the I guess it's fair to say the privilege of backing up Ellie De La Cruz in the lineup. Yeah, the whole offense though, even beyond Hayes, um, uh, did really well. As I referenced, uh, yeah, as I referenced, sort of Ellie De La Cruz, he hit a home run earlier in the game as well. That time, it was just a solo shot, but that came off Charlie Morton. The grand slam surrendered by Mateo was given up to Noelvi Marte, who is hitting at the bottom of the Reds order, but went 5 for 7 on the day with 7 RBIs and 3 runs scored. Austin Wynns also had a ridiculous day offensively, who has also had, in addition to Hayes, a tremendous offensive performance early in the year. Yeah, is there a connection? I mean, this is another guy that used to be for the Orioles. So Austin Wynns also yeah, went 6 for 7 in this game with 6 RBIs, 2 runs scored. So yeah, it's just been yeah, and he had a home run as well. So um, it, there's just been a lot as far as the Orioles, as far as this Reds lineup. There was a lot to comment on, a lot that you could comment on. Of course, 1 through 9 in that order did very well. They had 25 hits in the games. This was the most runs the Orioles had conceded in a baseball game. Uh, Going back to the infamous game against the Texas Rangers that I was actually at, I think with my dad and I'm pretty sure Eli too, where the Texas Rangers beat the Orioles 30-3. So this was the Orioles until that point had never given up 24 runs. So that just sort of speaks to how bad this performance was by the Orioles. So basically, Charlie Morton, I mean, there are a lot of problems right now for him. Of course, the one thing that people have pointed out a lot is the command, especially not being able to command the curveball, which, given his heavy usage of his curveball, is a big problem, falling behind in the count frequently. Uh, in this 2 1/3 inning, he gave up 4 walks, and he's also been way too hittable. He gave up 7 hits in this game as well. It's sort of been consistent. Uh, it's sort of been very consistent so far with Charlie Morton so far this year for the Orioles. So it is really alarming. He did express sort of confidence that he would be able to fix it eventually. He just doesn't know how much damage will be done in the meantime until he fixes it. That was sort of his line following the game. So that's, of course, concerning. Charlie Morton, as of now, uh, could or has the option to refuse any minor league assignment. So he is stuck on the major league roster for the Orioles, barring he gets injured, or they say he has an injury, to whatever extent they'd be able to finagle that. And Yeah, so he's basically stuck on this major league roster, and it's very unclear if the Orioles really have better options. Anyways, even if I guess they were available. Charlie Morton is a guy that the Orioles committed $15 million to in the offseason. So I do think they are going to try to find a way to get him right to the best extent that they can. But so far, this performance has just not been tolerable. And the Orioles, being a team that is trying to compete for a playoff spot this year, can't allow this to continue indefinitely, with the hope that Charlie Morton will eventually figure it out. Best case scenario from the Orioles' perspective, at a certain point in time, Charlie Morton is willing to accept a minor league assignment, hopefully go figure things out, and return. But to what extent that's possible now, and to what extent he'd be willing to do that, is a big, big question mark for the Orioles and for him as well. I don't think anything like that is imminent. But I think if we're looking at it, we're about to be approaching May. He's going to have another few starts before the end of May, and I think that at least by that point, there sort of needs to be some sort of improvement or encouragement on some sort of belief within the Orioles system that this is a guy who's going to figure it out. Of course, he has all the experience theoretically to figure it out, given his extended major league success. But something is seriously, seriously wrong with Charlie Morton right now, and the Orioles, they have to sort of find a way to help him through it, because the starting rotation is not in, despite all the depth that the Orioles, to some extent, tried to establish prior to the season coming in. The Orioles rotation looks very, very flimsy right now, as evidenced by Brandon Young's start in the Saturday game. So given that there is a lot of sort of insecurity in the Orioles rotation, or insecurity is not exactly the right word, but more instability in the Orioles rotation. I think the Orioles are going to try to figure this out. But with that said, 3, 4 innings per start, or an average of 4 innings per start, is not acceptable for a major league team, let alone one, as I said, trying to compete for a playoff spot. And this is really hurting the team. The Orioles really need depth. I spoke a podcast or two episodes ago about how this is really creating damage for the Orioles to have. It's really damaging to the Orioles to already at this point, just weeks into the season, to have their bullpen be as overextended and as they are. And given what I identified in that episode as the permanent sort of fixtures in that bullpen, um, that could be a significant problem for the Orioles going forward. The fact that CNL Perez had to throw 2 innings each for a total of 4 innings over a 3 game span is not good. And it's not, uh, that is not favorable to his long term health moving forward in the season. The Orioles got bailed out in this final game from having to cover another 2 innings from the bullpen because the game was so bad and so not competitive that the Orioles were able to save or preserve their bullpen a tiny bit by throwing Jorge Mateo and Gary Sanchez. Cody Poteet threw 2 and 2/3 for the Orioles as well, immediately relieving Morton. And he, of course, is new to the Orioles. So the Orioles in this game, because the game was so non-competitive, sort of found a way to preserve their bullpen a little bit. But uh, hopefully the Orioles will not be blown out in games moving forward. Will sort of need to rely upon the higher leverage pitchers moving forward in some of the games moving forward. And they're not always going to have the luxury of throwing Gary Sanchez and Jorge Mateo and whatever other uh, position player for the Orioles when they're actually trying to win that specific baseball game. They're going to need the higher leverage Dominguez, Soto's, CNL Perez. They're going to Yenier Cano and Bautista, of course. They're going to need those guys, as we get more uh, as we are entering competitive games. And if the starting pitching is not giving us any length, that's going to be a serious, serious problem for the Orioles going forward. So, really, really disappointing to see from Charlie Morton. All three starting pitchers, not anybody made it to the fifth. So that says a lot, right there about sort of where the Orioles rotation is at, where the bullpen has been at, trying to sort of compensate for the atrocity, or the atrociousness of, what is this Orioles, starting rotation right now. I was thinking I'm gonna try not every single episode to comment so negatively on the starting pitching because I feel like it's a pretty well established fact at this point. I think everybody is more or less, at least all Oriole fans are more or less aware of it. So I'm gonna try not to, but this starting pitching really deserves the serious focus of Oriole fans, of the front office, of the coaches and manager, Brandon Hyde. This needs to be the first priority for the Orioles to turn this starting rotation around somehow, because, as I said, it's going to have really bad negative effects for this bullpen as we continue on into the season. So because it's going to have these negative ramifications for uh, the Orioles as we're going down the stretch, uh, the Orioles cannot be a competitive baseball team with the starting pitching at its current performance level. Now, there's reason to think that it might change with improvements in certain areas of the starting rotation, etc. And with the new additions of certain guys returning to the Orioles. Although, as I'm saying that Grayson Rodriguez over the past couple of days got sidelined sort of again with concerning news about his injury. So it looks like he is going to be further behind schedule than was originally anticipated. So Bradish, of course, could easily experience a similar issue as he gets. We're still a long way away from Bradish, but as he gets closer to his expected return date, he could easily experience significant or uh, uh, experience setbacks, I guess is the best word, that delays his return. So, um, and yeah, just the starting pitching needs to be addressed immediately because it's gonna deplete the bullpen long term and down the stretch. And if the Orioles make the playoffs, we don't want guys with their arms falling off, which is what it looks like where the Orioles are headed at this point. So, really, really serious concerns for the Orioles. You can look at other areas of the Orioles game, like their offense in particular, where we are not firing on all cylinders offensively. There is definitely room for improvement among certain individuals within the offense and collectively within the offense. Now, it's not nearly as bad as the starting pitching is, but we can't even get to larger discussions about those sorts of topics, given how bad the starting pitching has been for the Orioles so far this year. So, um, it feels like right now for the Orioles, everything else on this team, all the issues on this team are very, very minor and negligible relative to the starting pitching. I say this about the starting pitching also as a bit of a warning sign, I think, to Oriole fans. Now, I don't think we're at the stage where it is time to press the panic button on the entire season necessarily. I'm not saying the Orioles are done. I'm not saying the Orioles are not making the playoffs. I'm not going to make significant claims like that in a negative direction for this Orioles team yet. With that said, I do sort of want to press the panic button on the Orioles' performance in the short term. And I think that the starting pitching is in disarray enough where I think it's going to take some time for the Orioles to sort of find some way to get their feet under them and to sort of stabilize things a little bit. I think that any sort of push that the Orioles are going to make for the playoffs is not going to be immediate. I don't think the Orioles are going to come out in May and win two-thirds of their games. I think it is fair to say that I've seen enough from this team that right now this team is not capable of performing to expectations. And it's not capable of performing to expectations largely because of the starting pitching. Now, like I said, there is time. It is a long season. The Orioles are definitely not anywhere near mathematically out of it. We're 3 games under 500, which is not a good start. Of course, it doesn't mean a whole lot about the Orioles' future playoff prospects, but uh, the amount of games the Orioles have played, we're now 9 and 12. 21 games is not an insignificant completely amount of games played throughout the season. So these games do matter, and if things are sort of narrow at the end, you could easily, as you can with sort of isolating any part of the season you want to, but you could definitely isolate this part of the season and say, well, if the Orioles had been 12-9 rather than 9-12, maybe the season outlook would have been different. We very well could not make the playoffs due to this stretch that we've had so far, or be seeded lower than we were capable of had this part of the season not existed, etc. So these games are very, very important, even at this early stage in the season. And yeah, I guess I'm not pressing the panic button like I don't think the Orioles are making the playoffs anymore. I'm not at that point, but I am at the point of I think that the Orioles are going to struggle in the short term, and I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of April, May, and maybe a bit even into June. Maybe by then, some things will have come through or things will look different by then. But in terms of the rest of April and May specifically, I am very concerned about the general well-being of this team. So, yeah, not to push the panic button for any long-term sort of thing, but this team is not playing where it could play at, where people had hoped and expected this team to play at. And I think that in the short term, like I said, this Orioles team is not really capable of sort of living up or meeting the expectations that I think Oriole fans, the front office, Brandon Hyde, the coaches, etc., sort of had hoped and expected for the O's coming into this season. So a lot of things to be a little. I think Oriole fans need to proceed with some trepidation here. We're gonna keep watching. We're gonna keep evaluating and assessing where this team is at going forward, but definitely some concerning signs in the early going, at which were sort of all sort of demonstrated and put out on display for this team in Sunday's game where we lost 24 to 2 to the Reds. So as I said, the Orioles are now 9 and 12. We have an off day today. On the day I'm recording, or by the time you listen to it, it will have been an off day yesterday on Monday. And we start a 3 game set against the Yankees. So of course, as always, very important games. All regular season games are very important games, other than potentially maybe when you have clinched your playoff spot, and potentially have clinched your playoff seed. Um, or yeah. So other than those games in the regular season, pretty much all regular season games are important. And this is against a division rival who we are going to, just like with the Blue Jays, most likely be competing with for the top of the division. So 3 games against the Yankees. Probably a good thing the Orioles had this off day today, but yeah, I think the Orioles are going to suffer a bit before we find a way to sort of stabilize and then hopefully, in the long run, make our push. It'd be great if I'm wrong. It'd be great if somehow, the Orioles just turned it around when we hit May and went on a tear. But with this rotation, I struggle to see that happening. So, all right. Thank you all so much for listening. Please feel free to follow the show. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, apologies for the fan above me, which may be distracting. So yeah, sorry about that. We do have that YouTube channel there. You could comment with any thoughts. If you want to get in touch with the show, feel free to email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com. Feel free to follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at The Warehouse Pod. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. This has been The Warehouse Podcast. My name is Jesse, and go O's.